Warning, this video contains spoilers about spoilers. I've been thinking a lot about spoilers recently and how far you can actually go with talking about a story, a movie, a film, a book, without actually giving away too much for the reader or the viewer. I think the answer might depend on the type of movie or story that you're reading or watching. On the one hand, there are mystery stories that might contain a big twist that you might not want to spoil for the reader. But then there are works like romance. You do know that the characters will end up together in the end. So if I tell you who did it in a mystery story, that would be spoiling it. But if I tell you the end is that these two characters end up together, that might not necessarily be spoiling it. You might even pick up that specific book for the purpose of wanting to read a very lighthearted, happy romance where the characters end up together in the end and it's a happy ending for them. I actually took a Zoom class recently where the instructor point blank said that she only chooses romance stories where the characters end up together in the end and it's a happy ending. And that's a very specific niche of romance that she enjoys. So she wouldn't pick up a romance that is leaving you on a cliffhanger where the characters are, moving away or they don't end up together. I also think that there are some people tolerate spoilers more than others and that it might be a personal preference. But today I'm here to talk about my personal thoughts on spoilers and how something might not be a spoiler even though you are revealing the end of a story to someone. When I was young and reading books, I would often flip to the back of the book to see the ending and read the last few pages while I was in the beginning of the book. A lot of people would consider this story sacrilege because I was essentially reading the end even before I started, or I barely started the book. A lot of times I was reading the book after I had done this, and I had the ending in mind because I knew what the ending would be the whole time, and I was progressing through the book to see how the author got to that ending. I didn't feel like I was too bothered by spoilers just because I had so much curiosity for how people got from point A to point B. So it's not just about the outcome of the point B, but how to get to point B. So the journey rather than the destination kind of thing. I wrote an entire post on this on Medium, just detailing my experiences with spoilers and how I'm not bothered by them at all. So if you want to check it out, the link is in the description below. But yeah, essentially I'm not bothered by spoilers at all. You can tell me the beginning, the middle, the end, you can tell me whatever you want. I will still enjoy watching the movie or reading the book. I don't know exactly how unique this perspective is because I know a lot of people are bothered by spoilers, but I'm just gonna delve a little deeper into why I have no problem with them. If a story interests me, I will legit go onto Wikipedia and read the entire plot of the story before reading the book or watching the movie. The reason I'm okay with this is because I believe that good storytelling doesn't need the outcome. It doesn't need you to not know what's going to happen. Good storytelling is more than just a summary. All the little details, the nuances, the emotions that they bring up, those cannot all be taken from the stripped lines of a Wikipedia post. When you're reading the summary of a story, you are reading the skeleton, bare-boned and skinless. But the muscle of the story lies in how it's told. That's really the meat of the story. This is why they always say that a good writer can write about anything. A good writer can write about an insanely tedious task and bring it to life. Make it compelling and interesting, and make the reader want to read on. What words you choose and what order you put them in, how much you choose to describe a setting, and how much you delve into a character's mind, evoking emotions in others. All those things play into writing a story. Even if you know the summary of the story, you'll never know exactly how the writer will choose to put the story together. The same is true for movies as well. There are so many angles that a director can take when portraying a script. Many different shots, angles, and viewpoints. I think that if you give a summary to two different people, then no two people will write a same book based on that summary. And in the same way, what you imagine in your head when you read a book might be completely different from what someone else imagines when they read it. But yes, as I have mentioned before, there are certain movies that benefit more from not knowing what's going to happen, movies with shocking twists and such. But I don't believe that any movie or book can be completely spoiled by knowing the ending. There will always be something you can take out of a story, even if you know how it's going to play out. I always think of one small passage from the book, What We Once Feared. It's a short story written by Carrie Ryan, who is the author of Forest of Hands and Teeth. I will read it to you because I really like this passage and I think it's very relevant to this topic. I'd known from the beginning what Nikki had understood only at the very end. But just because I'd seen the truth from day one didn't mean I needed to force her and the others to see it too. Because there's something I learned in that sliver of pink sunrise. We all come into the world knowing we're going to die. And maybe I'd figured out that our death would come sooner and it would come harder, but that didn't make it any more or less inevitable. And it didn't mean there wasn't something worthwhile about those days in between, the good and the bad of them, the kisses and the fights and the fears and the laughter. I was done with fearing death, and I was done with fearing regret. I'd made my choices. Maybe they'd been the wrong ones, but I intended to love them to the end. This passage is taking place, of course, in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. But I find that paragraph very beautiful and very relatable to not only stories, but also life itself. There are two ways to look at a piece of work, whether it's a game, movie, or book. The how or the what. The process or the outcome. The means or the end. And it's not always about the end, it's also about how you reach it. Even if the what is revealed to you, whether it's on day one or page one, the how still remains a mystery until you go see it, read it, or live it for yourself. A good writer can write about an insanely what is that word? I don't even know what I just said. Oh my gosh, insanely. A good writer knows what words exist and what words don't, and doesn't use the words that don't exist.